Hi, it's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is see. Let's take a look at some of the definitions for this verb. The first way that this verb is used is to mean to perceive with the eyes. This is probably the thing that comes to your mind when you hear this verb, see. So it might be asking for someone to locate an object, right? Have you seen my keys? Another way we can use this verb see is to mean to meet with someone you already know, either socially or by chance. This just happened to me earlier today. I went to the grocery store and I was telling this story to my spouse a bit earlier, and I said, hey, I saw so-and-so, our friend, our neighbor, whom we hadn't seen in quite a while. So just saying we met by chance. We didn't plan it. A third way to use the verb see is to mean to understand. You might hear this after you've shared some information and someone says, oh, I see. Just another way to say, I understand. Or you might hear it used to mean to predict a possibility. So you might imagine two people discussing some changes, maybe a different policy at work. And you're talking about one of your coworkers, and oh goodness, how are they going to react to this particular news? And I say, I can't see them liking this new rule or this new policy. So again, in this situation, you're making a prediction. Another way to use see is to visit a person or a place. You might hear this verb used as people talk about their plans for trips or any sort of traveling and what they plan to do during their travels. A fifth way to use the verb see is to mean to consult a professional. You might hear people say you should see a doctor, right? There's some sort of symptom or something you're experiencing and that you need to talk to a professional. Right? But you can see a lawyer, you can see a dentist, you could see a therapist, etc., etc. Right? So all of those are examples of professionals. I will note there are some additional ways to use this particular verb. And if you've heard or seen some other examples that don't quite meet either or any of these definitions I have listed, I would love for you to share that in the comments section to the video so we can all continue to learn and increase our knowledge of how to use this verb. Another thing you should know is that see is an irregular verb. To make the progressive tense, we're going to add ing to form see. The past tense form of this verb has a completely different spelling. It's pronounced saw. The participle form of this verb is pronounced seen. Let's continue to look at some additional meanings and usages with see. Today, you might notice from the top of my screen, I have more than one screen of examples of phrasal verbs that you see. So I know these videos can tend to be a little long, and I don't want people to stop watching because they're too long. So I'm not going to do other separate examples of verb tenses today, but I'll try and point out the ones that I'm using in my example sentences here. So let's get started with the phrasal verb see about. What you're going to notice here is that it's going to have two possible meanings. The first way you might hear the phrasal verb see about used is to mean to do what is required for something. So here's an example sentence. I'm going to see about getting tickets for the game. In this particular sentence, I'm using the simple future, be going to, with my base verb see. And what I'm describing is I'm going to see what's required. Right? We know for high school, college, and even professional sporting events, the rules are really different around who can go, how many people can go, do you need to wear a mask? So this person who's speaking this sentence is saying, I'm going to see what's required in order for us to be able to have tickets for a particular game or event. The second meaning for see about is to deal with or take care of. So an example of this sentence is, I should see about dinner. So you might hear someone say this and then see that person go directly to the kitchen. They're going to check on something that maybe is in the oven or on the stove. They're going to stir things, check on how much more time something needs before it's ready to be eaten. And the next phrasal verb we'll take a look at is see after. It means to attend to or to care for. Here's an example sentence. Our neighbors will see after our plants and lawn while we are away. So here's another simple future sentence, but this time we're using will and our base verb. And what I'm suggesting in this sentence is that the neighbors are going to take care of plants. So maybe they'll water them. They're going to take care of the lawn. So maybe they'll mow or they'll rake leaves while we are away. The next phrasal verb we'll take a look at is to see someone in. And I want to note that this is pretty formal. So I don't think it's one you're going to hear quite often, but you might hear it in an older movie or perhaps see it in a story that you're reading. So to see someone in means to show or escort someone into a place. Here's an example sentence. Will you please see our guests in? This is, again, a pretty formal question. It's also in the simple future. The other thing I want to point out here, and what I hope you notice, is that see, our verb, and in, our preposition, are being separated. And what's coming between them is the object, the person or the thing that receives the action. And that's how this verb will always look. So see and in will be separated and we'll have an object between it. The same thing happens with our next phrasal verb, to see someone off. This is another one where we separate the verb and the preposition. And to see someone off means that you are going to an airport, a train station, some other place in order to say goodbye to someone. And it's possible that this person maybe had been staying or visiting in your area, or maybe someone is moving. Another instance, it could be someone who's getting ready to take a long trip or a long journey. And again, you want to give your good wishes for safe travels and maybe a speedy return if they do plan to come back. So here's another example sentence. My parents saw me off at the airport. Here's a simple past tense sentence. Okay. Now let's look at some more phrasal verbs. The next one we'll look at is to see someone out. This is also another one that we separate. And I'll point out it's sort of the opposite of seeing someone in. Right? So here we're greeting and welcoming someone in. Now we're going to accompany a person to the door when that person is leaving. Here is an example sentence. Will you please see our guests out? Right? So will you walk them to the door? And generally that's done in a very polite way or a polite fashion. Not in a negative way. That might seem like an odd action, but it's done solely out of politeness. The next phrasal verb we're going to look at is also see out, but this time we're going to see something out. So a little different here. When we're talking about an object, here we're talking about continuing to work at whatever that thing is until it is completed. Here's an example sentence. He has seen many projects out to their very end. So maybe we're describing someone's performance at work, and this would be a nice compliment. He doesn't quit in the middle of a project. Something that has really a similar meaning is our next phrasal verb, and that's to see something through. You see our definition here again, to continue with something to the end. And I feel like I see something through. I hear it more often, but I wasn't able to find clear statistics as to what is more common. So again, you're welcome to make a comment on this video and let me know what you have heard more frequently. But let's look at another example sentence. No matter the challenges, this employee has seen every project through successfully. So this sentence is noting maybe there were some difficult moments, some issues, but the employee continues to see the project out. These last two sentences are present perfect, I should note. Okay? Now let's take a look at another meaning for see through. This time, we're not going to separate our verb and preposition. When you see this see through and you see them together, the meaning here is more likely to realize that someone is lying or that someone is being deceitful, maybe trying to trick you. So here's an example sentence. Parents always see through their children's stories. So here, this is a simple present statement. Someone might be expressing their belief or what they believe is a fact that parents can tell when their children are not being honest. The last phrasal verb we're going to take a look at is see to. It means to take care of or deal with something. Here's an example. After she saw to the shopping, cleaning, and cooking, she was able to rest. So, said another way, after she took care of the shopping, the cleaning, and the cooking, she was able to rest. Okay. So, now let's take a look at some words and phrases that are related to our verb see. The first word we're going to look at is the related noun sight. Its definition is the power of seeing. Here's an example sentence. Sight is one of our 5 basic senses. You might hear people describing someone who has lost their sight, who has lost the power to see. But in this sentence, talking about our senses, right, we have sight, smell, taste, hearing, and touch. Those are generally considered the 5 basic senses. Next, we're going to take a look at some different phrases that use see. One phrase that I've heard a little bit more commonly recently is to see eye to eye. And it means to be in full agreement, or could mean to have similar views, similar opinions. So my example sentence is how I've been hearing this used. The 2 candidates don't see eye to eye on any issues. Okay? So again, it's election season here in the United States, and there are a number of debates. We have just tons of ads on our radios, television, the internet, and many people feel like our choices, our candidates, don't have much that they can agree on. So they're not seeing eye to eye. The next phrase we'll take a look at is to see the light. And it means to understand or realize something after prolonged, so kind of a lengthy thought. This could include some research or reading, or it could be realizing something after having doubted it for a long time. So here's an example of this usage. Many people are finally seeing the light on climate change. So 10, 20 years ago, even though we had scientists telling us this was a problem. There were many people who are still thinking, no, I don't think it's a thing. And while there are still people today who maybe have doubts about it, the majority of people have seen the light. They understand after a lot of reading, research, information, that climate change is a problem and it's affecting our lives. The last phrase that I'm going to leave you with today is let me see. And you might hear that phrase at the beginning of a sentence. And generally, it's a bit of a stall, right? We might be saying this in order to give ourselves some time to think or to look for something. So it might sound like something like this. Let me see if I have this right. And perhaps the person is looking for something, or again, they're just giving themselves more time to think. Thanks so much for watching today's video. I hope you have a great day.